be very, very careful into that head because you will never ever get it out, said Thomas Woolsey. With that being said, I will be refuting my opponent's claim of fact speech, and his claim is genetically modifying plants and animals is hazardous for those who consume these GMOs. My opponent has three secondary claims. The first one, he claims genetically engineered animals such as chicken are hazardous to consume. The second, GMOs are toxic to the environment. And the third, genetically modified agriculture such as corn is hazardous for animals and humans to consume. For the first claim, when my opponent stated genetically engineered animals, my opponent claims that these animals are genetically engineered, but fails to explain the definition of a genetically engineered animal and what it entails. According to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, they say a genetic engineering is a process in which recombinant DNA technology is used to introduce desirable traits into organisms. A genetically engineered animal is one that contains a recombination of a DNA construct producing a new trait. That being said, when my opponent claimed that animals are being genetically engineered, he failed to explain that they're being genetically engineered because of their DNA versus how they're produced and grown. He also stated studies correlate the amount of arsenic in the human body to cancer. However, organic compounds is a definition is these compounds are much less toxic than the inorganic arsenic compounds and are not thought to be linked to cancer. And then in response to the second claim, GMOs are toxic to the environment. According to the National Academy of Science, they have found that GMOs have significantly increased farm yields while decreasing pesticide use and soil erosion. The idea is that because genetically modified crops are engineered to produce insecticides in their tissues or to be immune to particular herbicides, they reduce the man-hours, fuel, and chemical inputs in farming, even while reducing losses in pests and weather. And then also the genetic modified proponents claim that genetically modified herbicide-tolerant crops, especially GM Roundup Ready soy, are environmentally friendly because they allow farmers to adopt a non-till system of cultivation. No-till farming avoids plowing in order to conserve soil and water and supposedly to reduce carbon dioxide emission. And then my opponent also states genetically modified agriculture such as corn is hazardous for animals and humans to consume. However, though, a study shows that throughout history and throughout known, these animals have been fed the corn and have not seen the effect in the human consumption, and they don't have enough proof to prove that it's been affecting the human consumption to this day. And in conclusion, didn't have enough proof, or just his wording wasn't enough to be sufficient for his claim of fact. Thank you.
All right, I don't know what the opening quote is supposed to mean and how we're supposed to worry about it, so why it's there is beyond me. It sounds like it would support the advocate's position more than your position. The main claim is labeled, the secondary claims are previewed for us, so that's fine. You signpost as you get to that first point. You've got an explanation about what genetic modification means, and The application to animals, though, is not very clearly explained. You make this argument that says it's their DNA versus the way they're being produced. And I'm going, well, so what does that mean? Does that mean that there's something that's problematic about the way they're being produced, but not problematic about the DNA? I didn't get any evidence to suggest one way or the other, so it just seems like it's you make this argument, you make this statement about this, you don't explain what it means and how I'm supposed to assess it, so I think that's a little bit problematic. The organic compounds issue, how does that apply to the animals? I'm not quite clear on that. It's not really explained on that point. On the toxicity issue, this is the place where I think you were the clearest. You had some good evidence that suggested that it increases yield and decreases erosion, that there's an argument that says that there's a benefit from doing this in some way because we use less pesticides. Did we have a speech about sustainable farming and non-tilling in here? Yeah, so it sounds to me like this argument is saying that genetically modified crops allow for the kind of sustainable farming that that person was advocating earlier, and I think that's an interesting point. That might have been something that you could develop a little bit more in a policy argument. That would be a good disadvantage, for instance, if somebody was to argue that we ought to get rid of this genetically modified process. The third point, it's an assertion on your part that the animals who have fed the corn have had no effect on humans. I'm looking for some evidence to support that position, and I don't get any. Presentation issues, a lot of the same things that I just mentioned to Nicole are problematic here. There's a lot of reading, low eye contact, no inflection in your voice. You need to bring up the energy level a little bit so that your credibility is higher. All right, thank you.